Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. We're continuing our series of daily morning meditations, where we generally look at one or another of the lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the daily office lectionary. And today I thought we'd go ahead and take a look at the lesson that's assigned from St. Luke's Gospel, the 20th chapter, beginning at the 27th verse. Then came to him certain of the Sadducees, which deny that there's a resurrection, and they asked him, saying, Master, Moses wrote to us, if any man's brother die, having a wife, and he die without children, that his brother should take his wife and raise up seed unto his brother. There were therefore 7 brethren. The first took a wife and died without children, and the second took her to wife and died childless, and the third took her in like manner 7 also, and they left no children and died. Last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife of them is she? For 7 had her to wife. And Jesus answering said unto them, the children of this world marry and are given in marriage, but they which shall be accounted worthy to obtain that world, and the resurrection from the dead, neither marry nor are given in marriage. Neither can they die any more, for they are equal unto the angels, and are the children of God, being the children of the resurrection. Now that the dead are raised, even Moses showed in the bush, when he called the Lord the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. For he is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for all live unto him. Then certain of the scribes answering said, Master, thou hast well said. And after that they durst not ask him any questions at all. So anyway, this is one of those things where they want to set up a ridiculous situation for Jesus to try to answer. They don't really want the answer, right? They don't care whose wife he's going to be. What they're interested in, of course, is figuring out how can we trip up old Jesus, right? And find a way to make him look ridiculous. Their issue is with the resurrection in general, the Pharisees and the Sadducees being in disagreement. I reach over here real quickly and close up in my face and show you a copy of a book that I often refer to, and which is Dr. Peter Kreeft's book, Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Heaven but Never Dreamed of Asking. He talks a little bit about this because one of the issues we have is that we kind of figure out what will we have in heaven. You'll hear people put up, if you what would you want to see in heaven? Who do you want to do in heaven? What do you want to be? And we set up these ridiculous parameters of our own very limited human minds of what heaven might actually be about. And one of the questions that he answers very early on in the book, Dr. Kreeft, in this book, is the question, what will we possess in heaven? And in a sense, they're talking about possession, the wife as possession. So what will we possess in heaven? Dr. Kreeft goes on to answer, nothing and everything. St. Francis of Assisi and others devoted to poverty understand this paradox. St. Paul speaks of having nothing and yet possessing all things, because possessed by God, all things are yours, and you are Christ's, and Christ is God's. Heaven is pure communionism. There's no private property in heaven. Earthly communionism, even when not atheistic, is another too soon mistake of utopianism. In heaven, there is no ownership. If there took upon him to call anything his own, he would straightway be thrust into hell and become an evil spirit. For the ultimate possession is the self, and if even that is given away, nothing else can be held, because there is no holder that is given away. So he goes on to talk about it. He says, no one can possess goodness, truth, beauty, love, life, light, God, but heaven is these things. Therefore, no one can possess heaven. Whenever, not even now, we think of the truth or goodness as something we have, what we become is self-righteous, narrow, and defensive. To have truth is to be dogmatic. To have goodness is to be proud. To have beauty is to be vain. To have joy is to be miserable with fear of losing it. God, the I am, pure subject, is the only haver. He cannot be had, nor can his attributes or his kingdom of heaven. Thus we must learn detachment to enter heaven. Willy-nilly, death detaches us from everything, even ourselves, and in the case of today's gospel lesson, our spouse. We must learn to die before you die. There's no chance after. Learning detachment from the world which can be possessed is our training for learning detachment from the desire to possess heaven, which cannot be possessed. Asked whether he thought he would possess any of his beloved library books in heaven, C.S. Lewis replied, "Only those that I gave away on earth." So anyway, it's kind of interesting when we think about heaven, that the Sadducees weren't really interested in the theology of heaven. They just wanted to trip up Jesus. And they, were, of course, were getting at the issue of the resurrection. So, brothers and sisters in Christ, when we think about this, what we think about when we think about God, heaven is not who we'll be with or what things we might have, but the fact that being in the presence of God will be more amazing, more joyful, more overwhelming, and just being in God's presence will be all that we need. And that will be good enough. We can't even begin to fathom it with our smaller earthly minds. But at the resurrection, we will. Today's Thursday. Holy Communion, 9 a.m., evening prayer, 5 o'clock. And I do hope you'll be able to join us either live or online. May God bless you.